Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast. As always, I am absolutely thrilled that you are here. If you have never checked out our program before, you can find it pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, on down the line. Right across from me in studio is Larissa Smith. How are you doing, Larissa?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. Larissa, actually, why I'm here today is for Fish My Spot. And before I go into the details of what this is, let me just tell you that, it's interesting in this day and age, we hear build a better mousetrap, right? But this is not a mousetrap. This is something totally different. These fine folks have gone on and created something that, to my knowledge, is very unique. And, in this day and age with the economy and everything else, sometimes carving out your own path is something that we need to consider a little bit more often. And this is going to be a great story about some people who are doing just that. Larissa, let's talk a little bit about you. Now, I happen to know that you are from the Canton, Ohio area. Is that correct?
Yes, born and raised in Canton, Ohio.
Yes.
I did live in Cincinnati for 10 years as well. So shout out to Cincinnati. It's a really fun, cool city.
Yeah, I have never been to Cincinnati. I've been to Columbus a lot. For some reason or another, I just haven't made the trek down to Cincinnati, but I hear absolutely fantastic things about it. A little bit about your background, going to school and some of these other things. What were some of your aspirations?
Yeah, so I started off as a music teacher and a choral director.
Wow.
Love singing. I was a pianist as well. And then had a calling to lead. And so got into school administration. So I was a principal for 6.5 years.
Wow.
Assistant principal and then principal as well. At Fairfield City Schools, which is outside of Cincinnati.
Okay.
And then my husband and I got the opportunity to move closer to home, which we wanted to, especially after having young children.
Yeah.
Family is very important to us. So
Sure.
It was awesome that we got the opportunity to move back to Canton and reestablish ourselves and start our company, Fish My Spot, too.
Awesome. Let's talk, before we, I want, for the audience, I want to be able to transition from that background into what the Fish My Spot is. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what it is so people know that I'm still kind of curious to see what the connection, what the bridge was. Sure. So what is Fish My Spot?
So yeah, Fish My Spot, we are an online marketplace where we connect pond owners to people that want to fish private ponds and lakes. So we provide the website for our pond owners to list their ponds and any amenities that they want to list with their ponds, such as like a boat or opportunities to grill fish or have a picnic. And we drive traffic to our website. So anglers and particularly families, and really focusing on our youth to get them outside, introduce them to the sport of fishing, but get them off technology too.
Yeah.
Especially in the day and age that we're in.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about the details of that just a little bit. But now that the audience kind of knows what it is, how did you go from being a school administrator to Fish My Spot? That's quite a leap.
It is quite a leap of faith, I would say. I love working with kids, alongside kids. There's such an innocence in our youth. And so for me, it was after welcoming my daughter, just taking a break from education to raise her instead of her being in daycare, along with my son full time. And my husband and his friends were actually the original idea of Fish My Spot. Is it came from them. They were reminiscing one evening about, and they may or may not have had a few drinks, about, things that they did as young children and just the difference of growing up in the early 80s compared to even, the 2010s in that area. And one thing that they really focused on was being outside all the time, for long hours and being able to go fishing and frequently trespassing on their neighbor's property to fish. So as they're laughing about, some of the trouble that they got into, and then also knowing that Berlin Lake, because they grew up in the West Branch area, Berlin Lake, wasn't just a bike ride for them. It was a little further. Going and finding a local water hole was really fun for them. But then also the aftermath of getting kicked off with these was even, comical for them as well.
Sure.
So the thought was, well, we're not the only ones that want to fish various water holes in people's private ponds and lakes. So what if we start a company to do that? Which is where the idea of Fish My Spot came from. And then how I came involved was, staying home with my 2 little ones at the time, was missing the interaction I had with children and just that passion that I have of being able to influence them in a positive manner. So with Fish My Spot, they were looking for someone to actually take the idea of Fish My Spot and turn it into a company.
Yeah.
And so I threw my hat in the ring and said, well, if I can run a school building of 900 kids and 90 staff, I can start a business. And I've always been intrigued by the entrepreneurial setting anyways.
Yeah.
I'm a very creative person, goes back to that, the music that I grew up with and performed. So it was a good fit. And I was able, I feel like I'm indirectly still impacting children and youth by providing opportunities for their parents, grandparents to still take them outside, introduce them to maybe a new hobby, a sport, but also being able to say, even though it's indirect and it's small, it still is impactful. And those are memories that kids are going to walk away with forever.
Yeah.
When you think about back to your childhood, I'm sure some of your fondest memories are being outside,
Sure.
playing.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point because a lot of time I spent outside was doing things that I shouldn't be doing, like pretending I was Evel Knievel. Jumping over stuff with my bike, but at least I was outside and moving.
Right.
And it seems like today, there's 50,000 million video channels, and there's all these streaming networks, and there's games, and I, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that stuff, but it seems like kids are I don't want to go outside. It's hot out there, and you don't hear that conversation happening with children. Is that something you've experienced?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially when I was in the school system still. One thing with education is there's just so many mandates placed on educational institutions. And for right, wrong, or indifferent, we're not here to discuss that. But one thing that has happened because of the number of mandates that have been placed on schools is it has not allowed children to have more time outside. So they've unfortunately had to start taking away time from somewhere to teach them these extra things that they need to learn to be tested on. And one of that is playing outside or playing in general as part of their learning. And it's unfortunate because that's how you and I, grew up, at least within schools, is there was a lot of time dedicated to playing outside.
Yes.
And learning the problem solving and the discovery that is so important for kids to develop. And because schools, unfortunately, don't have that opportunity like they did 20, 30 years ago, children need that structure them within their home.
Yeah.
And, it's unfortunate, but I think at least for Fish My Spot, if we can do it in a small manner of providing those opportunities, it's a win-win for our children and even our adults, especially our fishing enthusiasts.
So in a nutshell, with Fish My Spot, you have a website and you have, let's say, an online community where you have people who are willing to provide their pond, their acreage, what have you, for people to come on and fish and maybe have a picnic or whatever. And it's a win-win because you have clients who can find places that have privacy. And by the same token, if you have some property and you're not doing anything with it, it's a good way to at least generate some income. Mm-hmm. In this, being that it's somewhat of a new concept, what has been, I'm going to kind of throw you a curveball here, what has been your greatest marketing challenge with this?
Ooh, finding pond owners and trying to figure out where they are, they're a little bit of a harder individual to find because it's not like there's a website, hey, with just landowners that own ponds. Yes. So that has been a little bit more difficult is locating our landowners and pond owners and getting them comfortable for people to come on and fish.
Yeah.
And essentially, rent their pond or lake for the day.
One of the things that I would guess if I was a pond owner and I'd say, yeah, I would like to do this, but I'm afraid of somebody getting hurt out there. I guess that was probably one of the first questions that comes up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And would you like to address that?
Yeah, definitely. It's always a concern. And I feel like in 2021, America's become just so happy. So what we've done with our pond owners is we cover them under $1 million liability insurance policy so that anything should happen, our pond owners are covered under our insurance policy because we, want the best for our pond owners, but we also want a safe experience for our anglers too.
Absolutely. Okay, that's great. That's great information right now. The company's relatively new. Is it a year old yet?
Yeah, so we're a little bit over a year.
Okay. What, during this last year, what has been the progress of some of the things the company has done?
Yeah, and in the midst of a pandemic, it was wild. So we actually had a great start. We opened our ponds in early April, and we had over 160 reservations, and we were able to get 650 people out fishing.
Wow.
From April to the middle of November. So a lot of them were youth, a lot of them were moms and dads, and there were many that just loved to fish various lakes and ponds. So we have a diverse group of clients. But it was really cool to see that we were able to at least provide some kind of entertainment that's safe, social distancing, get people outside and enjoy nature.
Yeah. I would, my question about the COVID restrictions, I don't know if it would help or hurt the concept. I mean, obviously, in my opinion, anytime you have something that could threaten someone's life that's contagious, it's not a good thing for any business.
Right.
However, you have some things here where you have the cabin fever aspect. And you're outdoors with just your loved ones. You're not in a crowd. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing there's some positive aspects to it too. Is that correct? Or
yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we took the circumstances of COVID, which were terrible for everyone involved, but we're able to actually help grow and help our company be successful with it.
Yeah. I would guess that's one of your marketing challenges too, because here again, I'm just guessing from what I know about marketing, you can go to a lot of the biggest conventions out in Vegas. For example, there's CES, which is electronics, but one of their biggest things is the outdoors, the hunting and the fishing, and those types of opportunities are not there.
Right.
Those have been totally taken away from you.
Right.
So it's presented a challenge to you as well. Moving forward, we're all hoping that 2021 is a better year all the way around because 2020 was really weird. We'll just leave that go at that. What are some of the goals? What do you kind of predict for your growth?
Yeah. So 2020 was a doozy, but 2021 we're looking to just continue to grow our database of ponds throughout Northeast Ohio, but also in Columbus and then also Southwest too. So looking at being across the whole state, we will be increasing a lot of our marketing efforts. That will include social media, a lot of radio. We were able to reach a lot of our anglers through radio, and that was very impactful. So we're looking to have a larger year than we did last year, and just more overall growth, which is exciting. And just once again, going back to our mission is getting our youth back outside, fishing, providing those opportunities for parents and grandparents too.
Awesome. Here again, it's a simple concept, but by the same token, to explain it to someone, especially if they're hearing it for the first time, it can be just a little cumbersome, at least in my opinion it can.
Sure.
So let's start with the pond owners. If you are a pond owner, you have some property, you can provide some privacy and so on. What would be the main benefits for the pond owner and how do they get involved?
Yeah, so we have some pond owners that are really in it just for the monetary aspect.
Yeah.
They can earn a few $1,000s a month, or not a month, I apologize, but a few $1,000s a year. And, then we have some that we had one female pond owner who just loved seeing kids at our pond and would send me just the sweetest comments and pictures of the children that would come fish with their parents, and just really enjoyed being able to provide a cool experience for people within her community. So, we have pond owners that are in it for making money. We have pond owners that are in it to help build community and provide experiences for our youth, but also people that love to fish. And then we have a mixture of both. We have some that really enjoy the money and that are cool helping their community too. So for pond owners that are looking to get involved, they can sign up on our website at fishmyspot.com. Go to pond owner, list my spot, and there's a form that they can complete to fill out. Or they can contact us at our phone number, 844-446-3474. And then they would reach me directly or my partner, Roger Hollis, to discuss, how we can get their pond on our platform.
Yes, I know Roger. He's a good guy. Roger's awesome.
Guy.
We want to shout out to Roger.
And it's free to sign up, too.
Okay.
So there's nothing that the pond owner needs to do. And then as soon as they list their spot, we then add them to our insurance policy right away.
Okay. For the angler, I guess is the term for the people who like to fish.
What would
be the advantages, the incentives to take part in this, and how do they participate?
Yeah, so I do want to state we're not looking at taking out public lakes as an option. Public lakes are always going to be there. They are important to still fish. But for us, it's providing a different opportunity, different venue for people to go fishing. Because some people get intimidated by trying to navigate around a public lake, trying to figure out where the best fishing spots are, especially for those that have young children. Don't necessarily want to spend a day trying to figure all of that out or a few hours ahead of time. They'd rather just have that information given to them, which is what we do with our private ponds and lakes. So we're another thing that you can look at when you're considering fishing. So our anglers can go to our website. They can check out all of our listings. And it's quite simple to use. They literally have to just create a login, and then they find the spot that they want to fish, reserve their time and their date, and they receive a confirmation email, as well as the pond owners. So pond owners aren't surprised when people are coming on their property. They're given confirmation ahead of time. Whether that's through text or email, we ask our pond owners how they prefer to be contacted. And they're given all the information of the anglers that are going to be showing up.
Awesome. That was kind of another question I just kind of wanted to throw at you. Are there any for both sides of this, for the pond owners and for the potential people who want to go fishing? Are there any ground rules in terms of this is the way you have to stay in this lane?
Right.
Yeah.
We do. We have a terms and conditions that we have anglers check the box. And it's very simple as whatever you bring in, take out. Be respectful. Don't harm around the pond, don't harm the fish. Kind of that common sense, rules and regulations. People can't be drinking anything other than what's not alcoholic. You can eat, but please just take out any trash with you. Is leave the pond or lake how you found it.
Yeah, that would be one of my concerns too, because a lot of people who rent or sublease things, it can turn into party central.
It can.
Yeah, and awesome. I kind of figured that, but I just kind of wanted to ask that. So in regard to your online presence, let's say people just want to find out more about this, the website, and what are your social media locations and what are the names of those?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook at Fish My Spot. As well as Instagram, same name as, at Fish My Spot. And we're also on Twitter and LinkedIn. So you can follow us. And we're providing, weekly tips of, fishing, trying to have more of a presence in the fishing community as well. We've posted a lot of pictures and just stories from our past clients. Though we had a great year in 2020, we've really had little issues with anglers going onto people's properties and not being respectful. I really didn't hear from any pond owners regarding any issues they had. So I think that's really encouraging is, typically when you're paying for a service, you're more apt to taking care of it anyways.
Yes.
Than if you were going somewhere for free.
Yeah, and because of the fact that the identities and everything of everyone is well known,
Yes.
that really helps. Oh, that is fantastic. We have been speaking to Larissa Smith, who is the CEO of Fish My Spot. This is truly a case of getting a new idea, something that I certainly wouldn't have ever been able to come up with, and being able to run with it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to follow this. You have the potential here, I guess, at some point to go national and really do some things in terms of creating a brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would love to get to national in a few years. It's going to take a lot of sweat equity for us to get there.
Yeah. A lot of times it's the first 5 years they say is that, and a lot of times in the meantime, then once you get some momentum, you're off to the races. Thank you very much, Larissa, for sharing some of this story. A lot of aspects here in terms of entrepreneurship, marketing, a new concept, the outdoors. It's a good subject, and I wish you the best, and I'm going to be following this as well because it sounds very interesting.
Thank you, Billy. You're awesome.
Well, thanks. Larissa Smith, CEO of Fish My Spot. My name is Billy Dees. You can follow me and you can tweet me on Twitter. You have to be nice now. That's what I that's what I always say. It's okay to disagree, but you have to be nice. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast today, and we will talk to you again very soon.